Kidnappers have again struck along the KADUNA-ABUJA expressway. The bandits reportedly whisked away 17 students of the Ahmadu Bello University, ABU, Zaria. The 300-level students of the Department of French were traveling to Lagos for their language immersion program at the Nigerian French village before their abduction. Meanwhile, armed men stormed Albasu village in Igbabi local government area of Kaduna State, killing 11 persons and leaving 4 others injured. Eyewitnesses say the attackers stormed the village on motorcycles, destroyed properties, and carted away cows. Let's share what happened in the Kaduna-Abuja highway on Sunday with you.
Hanyar Kaduna zuwa Abuja saboda labarin da aka samu na cewa barayi ko masu satar mutane sun fito kan wannan hanyar wanda kuma ya nuna irin hali na rashin tsaro da wannan yankin yake ciki.
To ga mun je cikin wani irin yanayi da kawai mu da mun taho an ce mana kawai mu tsaya ga wasu daga wani hannu suka ce mu sauri mu juya waɗanda suke gaban mu ma an tare suna can gaba saboda haka mu dai ga mun da mu san halin da muke ciki ba.
Okay, don't worry. Nobody will drink water. You don't drink water. Except you guys. That's what I'm telling them. You will not die. Nothing will happen to you.
Yawa, ga shi nan shi ne a cikin wannan motar za a wuce da shi.
Za a kai shi asibiti.
Za a kai shi asibiti. Allah ya tsare. Kiyaye na gaba.
Some people will say the primary responsibility of government is safety of life and property. That's basic. This one now, we're not talking about creating jobs, we're not talking about creating a conducive environment for business, but protection. Now, government is failing or has failed in this, the basic responsibility. What is happening in Abuja, Kaduna Express Road there, it has been happening for over 4 years. Yeah. People now cannot ply that road. The rich ones, they will opt to take the train. Wale?
Well, I think it's very unfortunate that this thing happens almost every week. We are talking about two, instances of violence now. The kidnap of the ABU students who are coming to Badagry, to the French school, and then what happened in Kajuri, in Kaduna, where on Monday and then on Sunday, where people were attacked and some people were killed. It's quite unfortunate that, because I think as of October, El-Rufai was holding meetings and we thought almost everything would be over. Peace meetings, and then people were laughing and that was the end, that there was no conflict again. So it's so surprising that in spite of all the efforts, this thing has happened again. I'm really worried because there is the chance that it will happen again. These students that were picked, we saw their names. Women are involved, students just taken away like that. Who knows what will happen? There are even, there are girls among them.
The trauma they will have gone
the trauma they are going to pass through. And then it keeps on happening almost all the time. Sometimes they release them, sometimes they kill them. So, and this highway, we all know that it is now notorious. It happens almost every time. So I find it difficult to understand why the government cannot find a solution. Even if it's a kind of constant area, surveillance. so that whatever happens there, you can. In the past, they used to kidnap people in the evening, so that before you start looking for them to be late in the night, then they will have taken their victim into the remotest part of the forest. But this day they do it in broad daylight. Those who came to Kajuru came in the afternoon, and they shot everywhere and then kidnap people, and then they just walk away like that. Sometimes they move for hours, and nothing happens, and days nobody can locate these people. So it's quite unfortunate. It's considered an international embarrassment. But I think the Kaduna State government cannot resolve this problem alone. It needs the cooperation of, you know, the federal government and international communities. But I think there is a breakdown of trust. You know, the people inside that community appears not to have trust, you know, in the process. Some of them think it is elite driven. But the fact of the matter is that both sides, you know, the Hausa Fulani and then the other people, they are, you know, they are all victims. You know, they are killing themselves. It has become a kind of situation where you have vindictive, vengeance killing, you know, hate killing. It's not based on any reason, but just because this person is Fulani, then you kill him. This person is from Chikum, you kill him. He's from Qatar, you kill him. So it's like rivalry that is not actually defined. People just want to settle scores on primordial differences. So I think we should see this as a national challenge, you know, and work out a solution that, you know, will involve all parties beyond the stakeholders in Kaduna State. Not that leaders should be so concerned. It's unfortunate Balarabari Musa is no longer there, but there are many important people that come from Kaduna State, you know, that I think they should be worried about what is going on, you know, and even other leaders, national rulers from every part of the world, because this thing can snowball, you know, into a national crisis if it is not well managed.
Bisi, the insecurity, not even in Northeast alone, Northwest, North Central, across the country, there's insecurity. Our security agencies seem to be overwhelmed.
They are apparently overwhelmed. You look at the issue of Boko Haram, we are still struggling with that in the Northeast, and you talk about bandits. But then, who gave birth to bandits and what gave birth to bandits? I think we should look at it from that perspective. How did we arrive at people that are bandits? I will still trace it back to failure of government in one way or the other. Now, how many of these bandits are educated? We talk about out-of-school children. We talk about over 13 million children in Nigeria that are out of school. When you have a large population
especially in the north.
Especially, yes, many of them are in the north. Now, there was a time that the governor, Masari, came out to say it publicly that the bandits, the out-of-school children that were in the north have become bandits. When you have an army of out-of-school children, something is going to happen at the end of the day. When you don't educate your youth, when you don't educate children, when they grow up, and unfortunately, these people are the people that will marry early. They will also give birth, and they won't be able to take care of the children they are giving birth to. So they send them to the streets, and we now have an army of bandits all over the place. So I think the North needs to take care of the education aspect of their youth much more seriously. Of course, that is not going to solve the problem now, but it is going to prevent a future problem. I think they should. I know that the northern governors are holding meetings from time to time on the issue of out-of-school children in the region.
I have a caller. Rashid is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Rashid.
Hello?
Yes, good evening, Rashid. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, thank you for the talk you're discussing. I just want to make my own contribution to it.
Okay.
You know, you see the issue of insecurity. Yes, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria is simply caused by the trend of bad governance we've been having in Nigeria from 1960 to date. So remember when we were under the military, we thought democracy is going to help. So we came to democracy and we discovered that the democracy the people were having in governance today are not better than those that were during the military. And if you look at it very well, most of them were ex-military men. You know, and coming to what is happening today, how do you expect me to be happy with what is happening? Because the colonial masters left this country better than it is today. You know, after the colonial masters, we have people that have ruled us in this country that are Nigerians. Tell me, my brother, what have they done? Go through the books in Nigeria and see how much they have expended on roads from 1999 to date. Go to our roads today and see the stage of these roads, my brother. Who has been held accountable for those? Now the truth is this: how do you expect me in my late 30s going to 50? You know, I've been told that we are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and these people that are ruling us, we knew about these people when we were 18. Now they have failed this country completely. Imagine you finish, you can't get a job. Even if you want a job, where's the job?
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Second leg of it, that's the academic staff, you know.
Yeah, that's the one that I found very. That's the one that I think is very unfortunate.
The private schools,
the
private schools, the private school students, they're back on campus.
No, you see, for university students to be out of school for 8 months or 9 months now.
Since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, for about 10 months now. It's unbelievable. It shows that we are not a serious nation.
So,
because
2020
before in this country,
academic calendar,
that's what before, you know, but that's not the first time. You know, it used to be like that in the past. Yes. When sometimes students will even lose an academic year. You understand? It is because we don't get our priorities right. This is a country that believes that it is impossible for them to raise the resources to satisfy the demands of university lecturers. But the same government can provide money to renovate a National Assembly that is as good as anyone that you can get anywhere. This same government can have a budget for the National Assembly that is probably more than that of education. It's because we don't get our priorities right. If we want to move forward as a nation that can play in the Committee of Nations, we must invest more money in our education. And because I believe that it is so sad that this government can say they cannot raise money. If you look at, they cannot raise money to pay university lecturers. You understand? At the time, it was a problem of the platform to use to take care of them. There was a time it was a platform. You understand? Yeah. And then they changed it to, oh, okay, we cannot raise enough resources to pay them. It is very unfortunate. I think that no matter what it costs to make our university effective, the government should raise the money. That's my belief.
What if the government, in real terms, what if they don't have that money? We've been experiencing a situation whereby the federal government...
Why are you saying what if they don't have the money?
That they've been borrowing. They've been borrowing.
For what? Borrowing to do what? Listen, you see, I admit that maybe the ASU does not know how to handle his PR. Maybe they need to have some consultants who can help them explain their position to the world. That's number one. Listen, there is NNPC in this country. There are 3.5 refineries that are not producing anything, and people are being paid. And you are telling us what is the name of that thing? What TAM turnaround to do what? For what? What are they doing? Listen, Ayo, Nigeria's constitution. I had spoken about this somewhere. I don't want to talk about 2020 constitution because it didn't happen. Last year, 52% of the Nigerian budget of 2019, 52.5% of Nigeria's 2019 budget was spent on governance, meaning salaries, training, fueling, repair of
correct.
vehicles, buying computers, and all these things. How many people are we spending that money on? Less than 1 million people. I'm talking about people in the executive, no, people in the executive branch, all the civil service, soldier, army, air force, police, civil servants, people in legislative arm, judges, all of them. They are not up to 1 million. And we are spending...
For the recurrent expenditure?
Yes, please. We are spending 52.5% of the constitution of the budget on
the whole country.
less than 1 million people. That's one. I hope you know that the budget of NNPC, NPA, Central Bank is not considered part of that budget.
Yes.
And it's bigger. And so some people sit in NNPC supposedly to be refining crude oil, and they are not doing it. And you are taking money that, listen, you are taking money that you make from upstream business, export of crude, to come and be maintaining people who are doing nothing. And then you say there's no money to fund ASU, I mean universities. What kind of system are we running? What is our priorities? And then you say you can't subsidize petroleum. And you are the sole importer of petroleum products. Why don't you just completely get yourself out of it?
That is it.
The same thing,
If you want to
because I'm
deregulate,
tying back to what we were
everybody
talking
will get
about. This electricity, the same thing. You have GENCOs, supposedly privatized. I hope you know the government has shares in those GENCOs.
What is something percent?
The same thing, discos. Then you have
Only TCN.
100% in 100% on TCN. So what are we doing? Are you not in this country when somebody said you want to bring in GSM? Go ahead. Didn't we have NITEL? They started the whole thing, industry from afresh. And don't tell me that it's not possible. Somebody called Vanderbilt, almost single-handedly built the America's railway system. So it's not difficult for, I mean, especially with today's technology, for a lot of people who have the technical and financial capacity can set up their own discos or GENCOs in this country, and they will run the thing well.
Very well.
JB, we used to buy SIM card. How much? 40-something thousand. They came to 20. Now you can buy 5 for 100 naira now these days. It has come down. They have paid the huge cost of the initial investment. And so we are running.
In some other countries, they will even offer you a line. They'll sell a line, let's say $16
And they give you a handset. Yes, I recall I was in Austria.
I got this phone like that.
Yes, in
I bought a line.
in 2002, I was in Austria. They give you the handset for free.
I was like, wow.
Because it's the tariff that is their business.
It's just manufactured.
You know, so we have problem of priorities in this country. That's the problem. So if they tell me they don't have
Because
money,
government is still subsidizing
yes,
electricity to
yes,
the GENCOs and the discos.
yes, you are
You understand?
loan for them.
I don't know why. I don't know how they came up with
Now,
that.
the prices
that
have been-
arrangement. They just gave it out to people. They just dashed them.
The
Then
tariff
you
has
want them
been
to raise
increased
money
now.
again after dashing them.
Are you telling us that they've removed the subsidy now? They've increased the tariff now.
No, they've not, because the government. You see, the government is also part owner of those businesses. It is not that government wants to sell some of those shares, because when they privatize those things, they did not sell it completely. Okay. And the transmission company, government still owns it 100%. Yeah, government still owns it 100%.
With security, they should have taken
that's
the
why
thing
that's
to
what
stock
I said.
exchange.
That's why I said
Which
I
security are
agree
we talking about?
that we should look at, because you see,
They should not sell our
I will give you an example.
line.
I'll give you an example. Okay. This discourse, one of the things they came up with prior to this time, one of the things they came up with was the so-called, they call it program. There is a program that they have.
Okay, I have the caller.
Okay.
I have Mr. OLOWOLAYEMO from Lagos. I like your name. Are you there?
Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
So,
Hello?
go ahead with your contribution, please.
Okay. I would have started. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Yes. And I agree on your audience, on your contributions there.
All right.
I would have started with the police by saying that when General Obasanjo became president, I want to forget about what happened before he became the a civilian president. Does he want to say he doesn't know that we have decadence in the police? He cannot say that. He even went to the extent of saying that the police they have recruited now, they are criminals. He said it on the road. He said it in all the people are carrying it. What correction did he make? That's about number two. When the other ones, when the one that died, I'm sorry to say, would he say he doesn't know the decadence in the police? The same thing is when good luck Jonathan got there. What correction did they make? Police have killed so many people. Once you go to the police station, you are in trouble. Once you are taken to a police station, you are in trouble. Once you even take somebody to a police station, you are also in trouble. This decadence has been there. I don't know. The correction has to be now, and let us do. They should do the correction. If it involves sacking all the police officers, because these young police officers, this Laura, they are not doing it alone. They're not doing it alone.
Okay.
Definitely, they are head of this thing. They know about it, and they have to refute back.
Thank you.
Now, this is the time we can.
Thank you, Mr. OLOWOLAYEMO, for your contribution. We're now back to discourse and genkos that you were talking about before the call came in.
Yes, I said that is why, if you remember this discourse, one of the things they introduced was what they called premium service. They will go to estates, like my estate, Omole Estate, or Magodo, GRA, Keja. And they went around like that.
You can pay.
And tried to tell you to say, look, if you can pay this fee, this amount of money, we will provide electricity for you.
247.
And most of these estates agreed, you will have electricity, and it works. When you look at the cost...
Is that working now?
It does. I will give you an example. Where I stay in Omole, electricity used to be bad in Omole.
Very bad.
So, yes, very bad.
Very bad.
So 500 liters of diesel usually take, give or take, about 5 weeks. Sometimes 4 weeks. You understand? Sometimes 3 weeks. But on the average, it's about 4 weeks to 5 weeks. Now, when they started this, their premium billing, that same 500 liters of diesel, I now use it in 4 months. I'm talking of something that happened to me because normally when I want to buy diesel, I buy in 500 liters. You understand? And it usually takes me an average of about 4 weeks or 5 weeks. But now, the 500 liters takes me 4 months. The money that I'm paying has increased. You understand? From an average of about 30,000 to about 70,000.
So if you have the money,
you understand?
Get the lights.
But when you look at the cost and what you would have spent on diesel, it makes no sense. And that is where to go. The only way.
I think they've experimented it.
Yes,
they are experimenting it in some
that's what I'm saying.
areas
They've done that. It works. Because they give you that light. Because they
so your generator will be resting.
Yes. Apart from the fact that it won't work, you will not need to spend a lot of money on diesel. So if that is what we need to do, it is still cheaper in the long run. That is why I said it is not what we pay that's what's important. What is important is for us to be able to attract big-time investors into the industry.
Contrary to the general belief that the coronavirus is very much around in Nigeria, fresh 152 cases have brought the total of the infections in the country to 65,457. Now, the Lagos state government is warning worship centers and religious leaders in the states to intensify adherence to safety protocols to avert a second wave of the pandemic and possibly another lockdown. A stitch in time should save many lives, gentlemen. Now, since the religious organizations, since they were allowed to start gathering again, some started with 1 hour service, and some started by cutting the number of services they do, and social distancing, and all the non-pharmaceutical intervention that has been prescribed by government has been adhered to. But with time, something with time, after the COVID-19, the NSAS crept in, the economic instability. So a lot of people, when you go out there now, you think that, look, we've gone past COVID-19. But the truth of the matter is that from research, we're still with us. Forget this figure, this 65,457.
You know why you have that? Because they don't do testing.
Yes, trust me.
It's only in Lagos that they do testing.
This
in
is
most
gross.
states in the Federation,
Even
don't test.
even in
Lagos
Lagos,
have
it is
scaled
not-
down,
yes,
they've
it's not-
scaled down testing. And then when you look at isolation centers, they've closed down many of those isolation centers. So I think the problem is that we are lucky in Africa. Or let me say we are lucky in Nigeria.
I think
You
so.
understand?
I think so.
The
Somebody keeps telling me
coronavirus,
that.
maybe because of
our
our
weather.
weather, maybe because of the weather, you understand, is not as hellish as it is in other climes. You understand? Of course, there is coronavirus. I can tell you that for free because I know a lot of friends that have caught it. The only difference is that initially, in the first, when it started, we used to hear a lot of people, no names, die. And people were scared. Now, people get the coronavirus, they treat them at home, and they survive it. I know so many people that have survived it. In fact, there's a friend of mine who is a top person who I called, and he just told me that, that was coming and said I was ill and all that. And the next time we spoke, he told me that, you know that I had coronavirus. He was at home for about 2 weeks. You understand? And it was the daughter that brought it from the daughter went to visit some people and brought it up. You know? So it's like that. People have it. But it's just that for one way or the other, we seem to have developed antibodies that fight it quicker than they used to be. So now people get it, then they treat them, and the death rate is not as high as it was at the beginning. You know, before, you hear that this senator died, that chief of staff died, this known person died, one person in the bank died. So you know, you see people that people that you know seems to die of
And
coronavirus.
there's always this argument that
you understand?
poverty is ravaging us more than coronavirus.
But now, because you see, when something is happening, fear is one key factor in life. When people are scared to die, everybody was conscious of coronavirus, and they were following the protocols.
Yeah.
You understand? Even when you get to a lot of places there, you will see the protocols. Everybody follow the protocols. You have to wash your hands,
and everything.
you have to have your mask and all that. But when I walk the street now, I see a lot of people, they don't even bother to wear masks. Before, they used to deceive themselves that they're wearing masks and they would just put in their shame. But now people don't even bother. People don't bother anymore. And like I said, it's because they are not as scared as they used to be. You understand? Before, people were scared. But now they just believe that it's not as potent as it used to be. You understand? So I would still advise that we have to face reality. This COVID-19 is still there. And not only that it's still there, we are about to, whether we like it or not, we are going to experience the second wave. Don't forget that when we experienced the first wave started in Europe, then people that travel brought it here. Now, a lot of our people have started traveling. Now there are lockdown in a lot of places in Europe, but there are a lot of people traveling, coming from these climes where it is easy to get it. Yes, they do COVID tests and all that, but we know that COVID is not, there is no guarantee. When you see footballers that they do tests almost every time, you understand? They will just travel for a match and they will just discover that they have it. So it's something that's very highly contagious. So this, whether we like it or not, some people will still going to bring, so the second wave will come. So it is important for us to prepare for that second wave.
Second wave of coronavirus, and the Lagos State government is reaching out to the religious organizations, churches, that they should, stick adhere strictly to the safety protocols.
Well, I don't know if you are aware that I was at the isolation center.
Doing what?
As a patient.
A patient?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you have coronavirus?
Yes.
Okay.
So
There's no stigma there.
I'm giving you information that from somebody who has experienced it.
Okay.
Okay. So, no, I'm stigma about what? Anybody can be sick.
Anybody can be sick. So,
it's a normal.
Yeah,
no, it was at the initial stage that people felt that.
As a matter of fact, I need to say that it was when I wrote it in my column that we started having ministers and governors started talking. They now found somebody who is known, who spoke about it. That was when they started. I noticed that it was after I spoke, I wrote in my column that they started talking. You have a call?
No.
Okay. Now, just as Mayor is saying, you have the airways have been opened. People are going to be coming in and going to be going out. Don't forget, the index case was somebody who came in. So it's not a homegrown illness. But two things. Number one, we are again in contact with the Western world where it is rampant. And the reason it is rampant is that they travel among themselves a lot in Europe. The same thing in America, they travel a lot. Now, we are also at what is called the transmission stage, community transmission. The vendor...
Okay, I have a caller. Tunde Bello is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I want to digress a bit on this ASU strike.
Okay. Quickly, please.
You know the situation, the situation is federal government should try to readjust certain expenditure. You see, this capital expenditure, you discover that every year there is capital expenditure. Government spends billions of money on buying cars, on buying computers.
That's recurrent expenditure. That's recurrent.
Pardon?
That's recurrent.
Oh, that's the capital.
No,
recurrent.
That's recurrent, sir.
No, recurrent, listen, recurrent is for salary and maintenance.
Buying cars is recurrent, sir.
It's okay, but they cannot be buying cars every year.
Yes.
Look at us, people use their car for 5-6 years, and they still maintain it. For God's sake, why should government be buying cars every year? Go to agency, we are headed towards the end of the year now. I'm aware that 2.something trillion has been released for both capital and recurrent presently for the third quarter. If you go around ministries and agencies, if you see the purchases that will be going on, you will be shocked. These are items that are already available. Directors, contract ministers they have it in excess. They will still be buying the same thing. This type of money, if mopped up together and of course used effectively, it will be used to take care of this ASU lecturer.
Thank you, Tunde. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you today for your contribution. Yes.
You know, so, like I said, there are two ways, or there are two ways of running to this thing. Those who are already traveling, they will likely bring it back. That's one. And then two, as I say, we are at the community transmission stage, which means that the vendor that brings Yusufa to your house, you go to the supermarket, that Bonvita or butter that you pick, you don't know who touched it last. You go to the ATM machine and you are pressing those things. You don't know. So there is a very high probability of regular individuals like you and I picking this thing without knowing it.
Okay.
So government needs to sustain, if you like, increase the tempo of the campaign. Again, I mean, about taking care of yourself. Awareness should be much more.
Adhering strictly.
And it's not enough to just be talking to worship centers.
Yes.
Schools, everywhere. Everybody. Market, companies.
Surely the aftermath of the NSAS protests that rocked Nigeria in October may live with us for a long time. An investigative report by CNN on LEKKI shooting on the 20th of October that sounded the death knell on the protests has stirred more controversies, while the CNN in the reports alleged that the Nigerian army used live bullets on the protesters during its intervention in the protests. The military insisted that its personnel acted professionally and followed the rules of engagement. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, said Nigerians are safe with the military, Meanwhile, the federal government has also reacted to the reports. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, who addressed the press in Abuja on the issue, said CNN should be sanctioned for irresponsible reporting and misinformation. Let's hear from Alhaji Lai Mohammed.
Like everyone else, I watched the CNN report yesterday. I must tell you that it reinforces the disinformation that is going round, and it is blatantly irresponsible and a poor piece of journalistic work by a reputable international news organization. CNN engaged in incredible sensationalism and did a great disservice to itself and to journalism. The first instance, CNN, which touted its report as an exclusive investigative report, sadly relied on the same videos that have been circulating on social media without verification. This is very serious, and CNN should be sanctioned for that. CNN merely said the videos were obtained by CNN without saying where from and whether or not it authenticated them. Were CNN reporters and cameramen at the Lekki toll gate that evening? If the answer is no, on what basis were they reporting? Relying on second or third-hand information and presenting it as CNN investigations? Why didn't the CNN balance its story by showing the compelling testimony of Brigadier General Taiwo before the judicial panel in Lagos? Is this one-sided reporting what is expected from an international media organization or any serious news organization? If CNN had done this investigation properly, it would have known how fake news and disinformation were trending during the NSAS crisis. The BBC even did a report on this and will recommend that report to the CNN. Talking about the BBC, a report with the BBC's pidgin service, Damilola Banjo. Talking about the BBC, a reporter with the BBC's pidgin service, Damilola Banjo, was at Lekki toll gate protest ground that night. She was quoted as saying soldiers were indeed at the toll gate, but they shot sporadically into the air and not at the protesters. CNN, that was not at the scene, reported otherwise. In airing its so-called investigative report, CNN conveniently forgot that on October 23, 2020, it tweeted from its verified Twitter handle that the military killed 38 people when it opened fire on peaceful protesters on Tuesday, October 20, 2020. Less than a month later, the same CNN, in what it called an exclusive report based on a rehash of old, unverified videos, was only able to confirm that one person died in the same incident. In its jaundiced reporting, CNN was blind to the fact that 6 soldiers and 37 policemen were killed in unprovoked attacks. Obviously, CNN did not consider the security agents human enough. CNN, in its investigation, was blind to the CNN in its investigation
Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Adekunle Yusuf, there's a part of that report that I saw on CNN that spoke about the bullets that was used by the military that day and that bullet's coming from Serbia, and talking about the particular year that it was purchased by the Nigerian army. Meanwhile, General Taiwo came to the panel of inquiry to tell Nigerians categorically that they did not use live bullets. What is happening?
In this NSAS crisis, it's so unfortunate.
Mystery.
I believe the truth is already a casualty. We killed and buried truth. And from all the things I've seen so far, all the things I've read so far, all that I've watched, even 200 panels cannot exhume the truth from the grave. We buried it. You see, but let me go to the reactions by the federal government through Alayi Lajman. He's a man some of us respect and admire so much. But totally I disagree with him on this incident. He should know that he's not a politician now. When he speaks for the federal government and CNN. He's not a local, not a Nigerian, media house. In Nigeria, the media houses, we are so timid, I don't want to say we are unprofessional, but we're always so timid that even ordinary local politician can, harass us, intimidate us, and do all that. But you should go and watch that report from CNN. I guess what the government should have done to say, okay, even though we disagree with so and so, we take certain things that we should do and work on them instead of condemning outright and calling for sanction. How do you sanction CNN? You can't fight a global media behemoth and win. CNN is not, Channels TV or AIT or TVC. This is an investigative report, and if you have anything contrary, that's not the way to go. Premium Times, an online publication in Nigeria that is, massively respected for investigative reporting, launched an investigation into this matter. And in their report, they said people were killed. All the things, many things that CNN said were said by our own local, Premium Times. You understand me? Yes. Of course, you still see many people who still come out to say they doubt this, they doubt that. Well, you may, but from government to the army to everybody, you will see that a lot of things, people are working so hard to confuse the public, to hide the truth, to kill the truth and bury the truth permanently. Unfortunately, they are doing a terrible, shoddy job in the sense that every attempt,
looking at the bullets in 2005, that the bullet was purchased in Serbia.
So when you look at, some of them didn't know that these days, I'm an investigative journalist, and when I see a good piece of investigative work, I know.
Multi-award winning.
By the grace of God. Let me tell you. So what I saw, you will see CNN to the extent that they even analyzed the video. And there are tools, modern tools now, to analyze video. Yes. So you can do there are so many things you can do with a video. So you may disagree with, because the Army Force said, when this news broke out, what the Nigerian Army told us was that it was fake news. We started from there, then later the state government, then later they agreed that, we were invited there. And all the shifting of grants and contradictions and all that. So if CNN came out to say, okay, there's need to do an investigative report, and you are faulting them because they were not on the ground when it happened, that doesn't mean that they cannot do an investigative. You can actually, because in this age of, modern information technologies, there's a lot you can do. And many of these were deployed into that report. And from what I saw, what I expected the government of my country to do is not what Alhaji Lai Mohammed was doing. Oh, even though we disagree with some of the conclusions in this report, we are going to work on some of the things we need to strengthen and all that. There is nobody, even in America, where CNN is headquartered, the president and CNN, I mean, this outgoing president, war. At the end of the day, what happened? You cannot win. Because the media house, especially one that is internationally respected like CNN, is like an institution on behalf of the people. They call it a social institution. The government, you come and go. It's not permanent. So I don't think we should continue to add more crises to what we have. What we have had enough, I expect the government of Nigeria to let us.
The Minister of Information actually said that it was there was nothing like a massacre. That it was an internet massacre with nobody and didn't have bodies. That anybody that had any proof of fatality should go to the Lagos State panel to state their cases and and I look at it. From what the general said, from the over 3 hours submission he made on the panel and everything, after that one, I was thinking that, well, I will tilt towards, believing what the army guys said, that no, that they did not use live ammunition, people did not die, and that live ammunition, the blank ammo they used, could not cause fatality, could only cause body harm, but could not lead to deaths. And CNN is establishing it that people died. Other investigations that have been carried out by Premium Times and some other eyewitness accounts are saying people died. So what are we to believe?
My brother, we have a responsibility, especially social responsibility, to defend institutions in our country. But this is totally different from the age of Joseph Goebbels, the World War veteran of propaganda. This is the age of transparency, age of digital journalism. You do not need to go to a particular site before you do forensic investigation, as my brother said. What would have happened now if this thing had been done by a local television? We've been talking about press freedom in Nigeria, press freedom, this, and that is why we should sanction CNN for doing this thing that is fake news. You see, yes, we have a responsibility, but this is a public relations disaster for our own institution. It's a public relations disaster for the army, even for the federal government. In the first instance, General John Enenche, the spokesperson for the army, said it was fake news. And from what we learned, when an American embassy official confronted a very highly placed official with pieces of evidence, digital evidence, well, of this thing, then they changed that. Yes, we were there, but Lagos State government invited us. And even the Lagos State governor had already said that somebody died. You were talking about massacre. That story had been debunked by even DJ Switch, that no, at no time, as she was quoted from one fake Twitter handle, that, the 68 died. No, that she never said that. She mentioned the number at a particular time and it was broadcast. So the issue of discrediting journalism, we want to control social media, we want to do this one, it's not there. It's a public relations tragedy that must be handled with care, because now they say, oh, this is not true, but we have seen bloodshot. We have seen evidence of what really happened. Even the satellite image, and I think our duty bearers and people who run modern government should note that this is the age of cloud computing. And most of those things that we see on television now, most of those things pass through images that have passed through satellite yes, organs, and you can easily see this thing. You can see
need to be there.
Even are they going to deny the images of how the soldiers,
the military moved,
how they moved
from their office?
Yes. how they moved, and how they got
the time,
to, yeah, at the time they moved.
The kind of vehicles they used.
Yeah, the vehicle they used, and the
routes they passed.
This is the age of data journalism. This is the age of digital journalism. Facts are sacred.
That's the Google.
Yes, facts are sacred, and then we should deal with the facts. If we need to confess, if we need to apologize, we need to do that, but not to be debunking video images to say that, CNN did this one, CNN did that. As I said, Premium Times did that. They had already established this thing. It had already been established before by people who covered this thing. Even AIT covered this thing live. We have seen all these things. Now, people saw when they were removing camera. It was shown when they switched off the light from all those things like that at the toll gate. We'd seen all these things before. We had seen before, not before CNN ever came. We had heard the gunshots, and we've seen this in DJ Switch actually recorded so many of these things. You can't discredit some of these digital images that you can easily retrieve. We know this is you can hide this kind of truth in the grave for only 3 days. It will not stay there, as I keep writing. And I think that we should not discredit journalism this way.
Mohammed
this is the age of transparency.
Mohammed is calling us from Warri in Delta State. Thank you for joining us, Mohammed. Hello? Hello, Mohammed.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mohammed. Yes. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Good evening, Mr. Ayodele. Am I on to you?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to contribute on this issue of answers and the toll gate issue.
Go ahead,
Thank you very much. I like the way I made the analysis there. I think the gentleman by your right hand side made mention of something that we are in a digital world. I like the passion in which he is saying it. But I want to contribute further to say that in this age of digitalization, we should also improve in our critical thinking. Because if we are not also improving our critical thinking, the digital world also can also influence us wrongly. Let me take our mind back to 2003. The same CNN reported how that late Muammar Gaddafi of Iraq, all the satellite images of where he's having
weapons of mass destruction.
The same CNN. Today, nobody, it has not been confirmed, and they've never proven one of weapon of mass destruction. We know what Iraq turned out to become.
Okay, Saddam Hussein.
Libya also, the same thing. Syria, there was also almost, they wanted to use, image was also used. But I don't know how smart the Syrian people were. I was following one documentary. I saw where people, they said they use chemical weapons, to be precise. But the government angle, if I should not believe government angle, I should also not believe the other side. I think it will be fair that way. The government angle of Syria also said no. They brought it and they proved it that it was wrong.